Well, switching gears here, times are tough for some Americans out there. Nearly half don't have $500 saved, according to a national True Cost of Living Coalition poll. And 1 in 5 Americans do not have an emergency fund, according to a Bankrate survey. To break down how you can prepare yourself for an emergency without sacrificing your everyday needs, we've got Monique White, Financial Head of Community, here with us. Monique, great to have you back on the program with us. First and foremost, I mean, this is a jarring statistic. $500 in savings is what we're talking about here. What is the first step that many out there can potentially take just to establish some building blocks to establishing savings and putting together an emergency fund?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now people are struggling due to the economic climate, rising housing costs, inflation, cost of living. And so people are trying to figure out how to save right now. The first thing that you can do is to just get started. Sit down, take a look at your budget, see what you can realistically start putting towards your savings, whether it's $10, $15. From there, you can start building a savings plan and start automating your savings, whether it's coming directly from your paycheck into your savings account, or you're having it go from your checking to your savings. The great thing about that is that you can tailor it to your paydays. Another method is to use alternative credit building accounts. So you can actually use that to build your savings and your credit at the same time. And that's something that Self offers.
What about for people who are living paycheck to paycheck right now? We hear about this all too often and how that's impacting the ability to save.
Right. So I think most financial professionals will tell consumers to save 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, to save 20% of your income. But right now, that is just not the case. So it's time that we reshape the way that we view our savings. And it doesn't have to be this big catch-all scary account where you can only dip into it for these big emergencies. You can actually tailor your savings that fits your current financial situation. So you can have your standard emergency savings. Maybe instead of 3 to 6 months, look at how much you can afford for 1 month of living expenses and start from there. You can also have a sinking fund where you have regular occurrences throughout the year that tend to be a financial burden. So like your auto maintenance, registration, things like that. That's something that you can start saving for. Continue to save for retirement, whether it's through your employer or you can do it on your own through a Roth, or you can have aspirational savings, a down payment, a new car, a new home. These are all things that you can use as buckets for your savings, and then you can prioritize them accordingly.
How has the emergency fund evolved over the years? I mean, I think about when we were talking about this before, it seemed like $400 was too much for some people to have in an emergency fund. And now we're talking 500. I mean, clearly things are more expensive for sure, but how should people's emergency funds also kind of correlate and keep pace with the cost of living?
Yeah, in order to keep up with the cost of living, you do have to have a strong savings. If you're not able to increase your income or reduce some of your expenses, your savings account is the only way to keep up with those type of things. So it's important that you just take a look and be realistic and get started. Focus on maybe a month of living expenses instead of 3 to 6 months. Right now, it's all about doing what you can and creating a habit out of savings instead of it being this big account that seems unreachable and can be challenging for some people.
You've got a lot of fresh grads out there that are trying to figure out, okay, all right, I got to set up savings. I got to, pick out which retirement accounts I want to build out. And according to the new employers, options that I can opt into, all of these things considered, there's a lot being thrown at them right now. Where should they be kind of prioritizing the different accounts or different funds that they're setting up?
Yeah. So if your employer offers you a retirement match, definitely take advantage of that. Essentially, that's free money and you don't want to leave that on the table. So that's always a good starting point when it comes to your savings. You can also, I know we've been talking about savings, but your credit is also just as important. Sometimes it's a topic that's not in the forefront when it comes to your finances. And when you have a strong credit score, that is helpful to the health of your savings as well. A strong credit score can save you money in the long run when it comes to interest rates and being eligible for certain credit products and how much you have to put down for a down payment for a home or renting a house. So that's something that you should focus on, is having a strong credit score and then maybe prioritizing your retirement savings.
Monique White, Self-Financial Head of Community. Monique, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Certainly.